Women of the Channel Leadership Network. I'm Jackie Rives, your community leader, and welcome to another Women of the Week. This week, I am excited to introduce you to Jaimee Martinez, VP of Workforce Solution Portfolio Management for HP Inc. Hi, Jaimee. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, everybody, and hi, Jackie. Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled and honored to be here.
Well, I'm excited to get to know you. So let's dive into those icebreaker questions. Where do you live and where did you grow up, if that's different?
So I currently live in Boise, Idaho, and I was born and raised in Boise, Idaho. Little town just around Boise, 10 minutes away. I traveled a lot as a kid, and I always wanted to leave Boise. I was like, oh, I love Seattle. I love the beach. Big city might be for me. And so when I was looking at colleges, both before and then after I went to college, I wanted to leave. I ended up going to college about 5 hours from Boise, still in Idaho at the University of Idaho, but 5 hours was far enough away to kind of leave the city for a while. And when I came back, there was so much growth and there was an explosion of diversity that was starting to take root in Boise. And that's what I missed the most was the good restaurants, the shopping, the diverse people, the aspects of all that brings to a city. And I had done an internship in college with HP, and I loved the company, and I couldn't wait to go back there full time. So I decided to stay in Boise, and we've grown up a lot. We still are growing. I think we're one of the fastest growing cities, top 10. We show up on all those lists all the time. But I've been thrilled to be a part of this community and raise my kids here.
That's awesome. That was probably the most interesting answer to that question ever. Like, just to be able to see that growth and then, kind of fall in love with where you grew up when you were previously thinking, I've got to, get out and be somewhere bigger
Exactly.
or more enticing. Very
Yeah,
cool.
and Boise isn't done growing yet. It's really not as diverse as it needs to be, and perspective wise and culturally. But I'm super excited to have seen all the growth that it's gone through so far. So
I love that. All right. What is a little known fact about you that you don't mind sharing?
well, I've done a few of these types of things in the past,
Mhm.
and I always share something really quirky. But unless you really get to know me well, maybe you might not know that I do not play games for fun. I might smile at
Hmm.
you and act like I'm having fun, but my goal is to win. And there's no other reason to play a game in my book than to win. And so, if we're golfing, if we are doing any sport, if we're playing cards, it doesn't matter who I'm playing with either. Like it's not about being nice. It's about winning the game. And I think I inherited this from my 94-year-old grandma who's still alive and ready to beat anyone at mahjong on any given day. So she's got that spark and fire, and it's fun to play with her.
I love that. That's hilarious. My husband and daughter have that in common, where it's almost not fun to play because I'm like, let's all just get along and be fun. And yeah, no,
Yeah,
definitely opposites, but that kind of fire is definitely a good fire to have. So thank you for sharing that.
sure.
Let's pivot into your career path. So you kind of started to talk about your internship. So tell us about your career path and how you reached the position that you're in today.
Awesome. Well, so I started right out of college as an electrical engineer, and I was
Mm.
designing custom ASICs for HP's LaserJet printers. And try explaining that to people who, that aren't engineers or aren't in the technology field. I was like, those little things that are on the circuit boards, the stuff inside there. That's what I do all day. And it was super fun and it was a technical job and I felt smart, but I didn't know a lot about business. By the time that little chip makes it onto a bigger board and makes it into the printer and makes it out to market, I really had no idea what we were selling, how much we were selling it for, whether our customers liked it or not. And so I felt isolated. And I sought mentors and I talked about what I wanted to do, which was really to learn more about HP's businesses, how we make money, um, how our customers feel about us. And I expanded my network. I took on jobs that were a little bit risky, kind of like things that people didn't necessarily want to do. I found
Mhm.
passion in solving really tough problems. Um, I took a software team through an agile transformation before agile was really a thing. I led a quality team out of the woes of nobody wanted to be on the quality team to everybody was feeling victorious about being on a quality team. The last check before the product leaves HP's doors and making sure that the customers weren't the ones debugging our products for us. Um, I did something that was really interesting around taking customer requirements and making those the center of everything we talked about, rather than just the feeds and speeds of a printer. And we were used to doing that and we were good at it, but really taking customer pain points and turning those into business requirements was something that was hard. And
Mhm.
so we did that. So I took a lot of risks. And then at 15 years, I got a little email from HP, and it said, "Congratulations on your 15-year anniversary." And I was like, "Wow, that went by fast." But also, I want to do something besides printers. And so there was a job open in the consumer PC division, and I had heard a lot about the consumer PC division, that it was like working for a different company. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad, right? You're like, okay, is the culture different, or is just like the operations different? And so I applied and I got that job. And it was a big risk because I knew everybody in Boise. It was laser jets are designed and built out of Boise, and going to the consumer PC, everything was run out of Taipei and Houston. Totally
Mm.
different, set of people. And so I decided that was the risk I wanted to take. Ride of my life, super fun. We were getting killed by the competition when I took on this job. It was a cost structure job, and I was like, well, where are the finance people? Why? I'm not a finance person. I'm an engineer. And they're like, yeah, exactly. We need to re-engineer this cost structure. And so had a lot of fun. Consumers, as we know it, are very fickle, and our products only sit on the shelf at most 8 months. If you talk to the QVC people, they want a purple PC, and if you talk to Best Buy, they want a blue PC. And so we just had a lot of fun getting the cost structure right, getting the design right, better customer insights. I think I have a proud moment here where we took out $2.3 billion in the cost structure over 3.5 years. And we rose to number one in PCs and market share. So after that, I was like, wow, that was so fun. I became the consumer desktop product manager worldwide. So I had my own product, had my own P&L. And then I met the CEO of a biotech on an airplane. And we started chatting, and he was like, "I really need somebody like you at my company." And I'm like, "Ha ha ha, that's funny. I've worked at HP my whole life, and that's where I wanted to stay." And he talked me into leaving HP over about 6 months' time, just talking to me about what I really wanted to do with my career. And I think the big kicker was that I had not gotten my MBA during my
Mm.
time in those 15 to 17 years. And the the external economy was kind of scaring me a little bit. And I'm like, if I ever did have to look for a job outside of HP, I have a lot of experience, but I don't have my MBA. And so instead of going to get my MBA, I thought, let me take a risk, go to a biotech company on the East Coast with 33 people and do something completely different in a completely different industry. And I'll call that my MBA. I'll call that my chance to just get hands-on learning experience. And I did that, and it was so worth the risk. And it was a blast. Got to do videos, meetings with the CDC, got to visit the New York Stock Exchange. We were publicly traded with no revenue because we still had drugs going through the FDA process, not actually on the shelf. So those were interesting calls. Um, But the leadership changed. And it was a turning point for me after about a year and a half to say, do I want to stay in this industry, or do I think I got what I wanted to get out of this? And what do I want to do next? And I could have gone to a startup. I could have gone to some other things, but I loved HP. It was the culture. When people say culture eats strategy for lunch, it's real. I loved the culture. I missed the people, and I missed, my ability. I wasn't a scientist, so
Hmm.
the scientific community looks at technical people and like, you're not quite a scientist. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like you. And they're like, no, no, you're different. But I loved being part of that technical community, and so I went back to HP and I went back into services, and I took on many, many roles. Chief of staff for our brand new president, Dave Scholl, as they created a brand new business unit of services. And in my latest role, which led me to the promotion to VP and portfolio management, which for me is a dream job. So this is kind of a long-winded answer to what you asked, but I think my way to sum it up and my advice along the way for people is to do every job and do it well. You are always interviewing, and set goals that scare you. Relationships are super, super important, and that network will just work for you on your behalf. And then lastly, I think I mentioned, take risks. You have to, especially ones that scare you a little bit, because you'll grow so much during that.
Wow. With such an impressive path, I mean, I'm kind of blown away here. Have you ever questioned your abilities or qualifications?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to say every day, but I will say it's one of the things that women do best. We have super high expectations of ourselves. And when we look around sometimes and we don't see people like us, even the same gender, the gender gap is real. And so
Hmm.
when we don't see a lot of female role models in front of us, especially in tech or in executive leadership roles, it makes you question your abilities. And then you remember that our customers are not just one gender, one race, or one type. They are a broad and diverse set of people. And so it's important that our workforce represents the different voices and ideas. And so when I start to feel like I'm the only one speaking up, or maybe, I have a very different way of approaching something than some of my colleagues, or, maybe my idea was shot down, I just remember how important it is to continue to speak up and represent, our customers. Um, I was one of 42 female graduates in my class of electrical engineers. So, of course, I questioned myself. And some days I felt really alone, and other days I felt special. And I actually had a male peer tell me, you're doing the meet and greet at the sorority and the fraternity. And he says, "Hi, I'm Jason. What's your major?" And I said, "Hi, I'm Jaimee. My major is electrical engineering." And he literally spit out his beer and was like, "You'll never make it." And to this day, I remember his name, Jason, and he fueled my fire. Like, it's like when people tell you you can't do something, you just look back on it and you're like, you want to prove them wrong. And so I use it to like give me fuel. And then lastly, I would say, moving from manager to director, director to VP, you start to wonder, you have to give yourself some time. You have to have patience. But when I start to
Hmm.
question my abilities or qualifications, I kind of look around and I check with my peers, my direct reports, those above me, those side by side, those that report to me. And I don't need constant affirmation, but it's really important to know where you're at and know where you stand. So if you're feeling unsure, and lastly, I would summarize, like, we all face fears and doubts
Hmm.
when we aren't good at something. Work, parenting, there were many doubts along the way there, being a friend, but it's what you do with that doubt that really matters. So don't give up, grow, learn, keep moving forward, one step at a time. And remember, there were times where that guy at the fraternity spit out his beer, and I hadn't even started a class yet. And you can imagine how that made me feel, but
Hmm.
I got through it. So I remind myself of that all the time.
Yeah, When you shared that story about Jason, the first thing that came to my mind was your little known fact. And I was like, challenge accepted.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, I think we have just a little bit more time. So I want to hit the how do you protect and create that work life quote unquote balance?
Absolutely. So I'll say Excel, Google Maps, making lists, and drinking wine. No, but
All
in
great
reality,
ideas.
I've learned that being crazy, busy, or overwhelmed ebbs and flows. And so take time on the ebb and push hard on the flow, and know yourself and know the things that revive you. For me, it's friends, family, food, traveling. There's lots of things that revive me. Buying new shoes, a big one. And then, those people that inspire you, keep them close to you. My
Mhm.
parents are huge inspiration to me. My mom is battling cancer and she's kicking its butt. And my dad is the rock for everybody. He doesn't break, and they are incredible people. My fiance, he gives me strength every day and embodies the true meaning of a partner. He's selfless, supportive, and it's great to have someone like that in your corner. And then lastly, I have 3 children who are 20, 18, and 16. And so, hence the wine. Um, but I look at them and they're doing such amazing things at such young age, setting goals and owning their own businesses, running marathons, getting their college degrees while they're in high school. Like I use them as inspiration when the going gets tough, and when work life balance gets out of whack. I take a moment and remind myself, you know, all those important things.
I love it. Jaimee, thank you so much for, sharing your insights and some of, the things that you've collected along the way and just investing in our community here at Women of the Channel and allowing us to celebrate you.
Thank you so much. That was fun. And it was great talking to you.
Yes. All right, community members, be sure to join me in celebrating Jaimee, continue the conversation, share your insights. And until then, happy Wednesday.
Bye.